Hello and welcome back to MCNN's Life Series Recap. I'm Salem.
And I'm Joju.
And we're back for another season of our favorite pixelated violence.
For those of you who weren't around last season, our recap exists to help fans keep up with the rush of videos flowing your way during a Life series. As much as many of us would love to watch 17 videos a week, we unfortunately have, other things to do.
So we're here to do that instead and make sure that you can keep up with all the drama, jokes, and shenanigans you otherwise might have missed. A new season means new rules, and they're a little more complicated than usual. For starters, there's no regeneration, so if you take damage, you can't get that health back, via eating or potions. To make up for that, players have 30 hearts of health per life, for a total of 90 hearts over 3 lives. Those lives are still the green, yellow, and red you're used to, and only red lives can initiate violence.
There is one way to regain health. Every session, players receive a secret task that, if they complete it, lets them regain 10 hearts of health. Any hearts over the maximum of 30 get turned into extra items, including valuables, offensive materials, and rare items like potions.
Players turn in their task by visiting a new face on the server this season, the Secret Keeper. Besides success or failure, players can also press a button there to re-roll for a hard task. Hard tasks offer 20 hearts for a success, but take 10 away if the player fails. And that's the only significant thing about the Secret Keeper.
Speaking of new friends, this season also introduces GeminiTay to the Life series and marks the return of LDShadowLady, both participating as actual players rather than substitutes, as they did in Limited Life. And Mumbo also returns to the Life series for the first time since last Life.
This brings us to the bad news that, unfortunately, Rendog is once again missing from the Life series. We've been reassured that he's fine, he's just stuck in a dungeon somewhere.
Oh no. Oh, bad. Bad!
There are a bunch of other small changes, and even we're not sure how many secrets and surprises are waiting for us, but one that we can confirm is that mobs can drop spawn eggs when killed this season. Ironically, this happens just when players are finally getting concerned enough to keep their limited animals alive.
Gonna eat your babies, come with me, gonna eat your babies.
The other new mechanic allows players to gift a free heart to someone else once per session, which no one would ever think to use for extorting resources from other players.
These are supposed to be gifts from the heart, not economic purchases.
And now that we've finally run through the mechanics, let's talk about the mayhem.
Before the players even got moving, they were already fighting. In an attempt to welcome Gem to the series, SolidarityGaming suggested that everyone get a free punch on her. Unfortunately, Martin InTheLittleWood missed the mark, hitting Jimmy and getting a season without getting off to a messy start.
Jimmy made his way off into the wilderness, where he ran into GoodTimeWithScar. Unfortunately, this budding friendship was derailed by a visiting Scots Major.
I need to interrupt this canon event because you two together would be out of the series quicker than we have time for.
Scott also sabotaged his own future, pointedly refusing to team up with ZombieCleo this season, on the insistence that the two of them together are too powerful a team.
It's not fair on everyone.
Yeah, no, we need to spread out the being awesome.
Most importantly, for the early game, the players all received their secret tasks for the session. We have a full list of the tasks on screen now, but in general, most of them were about building bases and socializing. Normally. Some people had to build in weird places or styles, while others had to tell bad jokes. Arguably the strangest task was Big B's, but more on that later.
And speaking of weird tasks, let's go to some of our field correspondents for how Scar learned about the new rules the hard way.
You're right, Scar got himself in quite a pickle in his very first episode. But before we get to that, let's talk about some of the other shenanigans this session. Some tasks had the potential to cancel each other out. For example, Grian needed to make 3 bad jokes that nobody laughed at. Throwing bad puns at Mumbo Jumbo, whose task was to sustain 5 minutes of pun-filled conversations, was not the best way to achieve this.
I think I might be too funny to complete this task. Or I'm just with the wrong person.
While Grian and Mumbo were stuck in their stand-up standoff, they were noticed by Jimmy, who swung by to swing an axe into Grian's crafting table. His task was to destroy 5 crafting tables while they were in use. He eventually succeeded by targeting Skizz, Impulse, and finally Mumbo, who was far too busy butchering the recipe for a shield to notice his crafting table vanish 3 times in a row.
Oh, for goodness sake, I was in the middle of
you.
Grian and Mumbo also crossed paths with Joel, who opened the conversation by ghosting them, and Scar, who wandered over to swipe an apple from a nearby decaying tree. The resulting interaction caused Scar to spill the beans about his task, to call people anything but their username for 30 minutes.
Oh, Mumbo, I'm gonna hug you. Oh, I just failed my task.
Scar slipped up in his rush to thank Mumbo for the generous gift of a heart, and then misinterpreted Grian's advice to carefully check the wording of his task as an invitation to read it aloud. Having now definitively failed by revealing his task, and that he could have simply restarted his 30-minute timer, Scar was escorted to the Secret Keeper by Grian and Mumbo, and given the chance to re-roll for a harder task, after the other players voted in chat to allow it. He was then tasked with getting 2 other members to call someone a nickname, easily accomplished minutes later when Jimmy, Skizz, and Tango, who originally showed up to tease Scar about his failure, were swept up by Scar's charisma and used his proposed nickname of Light of the Server for Grian.
Light of my life!
Impossible.
This would not be the last time Tango and Scar unknowingly worked together on a task, as Tango was given perhaps the easiest task of all, to get Scar to talk about Star Wars for 60 seconds.
I've been meaning to tell you. I finally got a chance to catch the first couple episodes of Ahsoka.
The mere mention of Ahsoka and a few well-placed were more than enough to secure Tango his prize, and after allowing Scar to escort him back to the Secret Keeper, he revealed the greatest betrayal of his entire session. Tango never actually intended to watch Ahsoka with Scar. And it just wouldn't be a season of the Life series without callbacks to previous seasons. While exploring the map, Scar and Grian came across a very small desert with a few cacti. Scar grabbed the final one of the bunch, but handed it over to Grian to form a monopoly of cactus, if he wanted.
Here, you can have a monopoly here.
Monopoly on cactus.
While history may not repeat, it certainly rhymes, and no matter how many times you flip the hourglass, it's always the same sand in there. Speaking of which, we're out of time. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Pixie. One of the gifts Scar got for completing his very difficult task was a camel spawn egg. Camels are great because 2 people can ride them at a time, and less great because they try to kill you. Let's go to Scar to learn more.
That's the animated one. Yeah. I think I watched the first episode.
Your face! Help! I've taken so many hearts!
Meanwhile, B-Dubs was having a much better time with the local wildlife. His discovery of a horse friend triggered a quest for a saddle. Lizzie helpfully suggested that he get the leather from some other horses, but of course B-Dubs would never do such a thing.
Sorry. Okay, that's one.
Another feature of the new map is the wide diversity of materials available. Players have already found several rare and exciting features, including a mesa, some wandering frogs, berry bushes, and cherry blossoms. Grian even hinted at there being an end portal somewhere underground, which would be a first for the Life series if true. Also, there's the giant creepy statue that tells you what to do, but we've all seen one of those, right?
One person who probably wasn't as thrilled with the map this time was Martin, who spent most of the session getting beat up by mobs underground.
I'll tank the Skelly.
Oh, come on! I've just lost 2 hearts to dripstone!
And also went into the Nether, underprepared, in a series without regeneration. Anyway, let's talk about some other people who made interesting choices this week.
Strange occurrences are all the rage this season, and it's all thanks to these trippy tasks. If we direct ourselves to look at our favorite Cookie Man, Big B's secret is not only more red than the rest, but is also written very strangely.
Wait, your secret is... What is it? What is it? Oh my... Oh! All right, let's see what we got. Dig a big hole all the way down, at least 3 by 3. Make it your base if you want.
Big B gets pretty deep underground, but he doesn't quite reach Deep Slate before running into a giant dripstone cave. Still, he counts it as complete, and the Secret Keeper doesn't have any objections. Big B doesn't stop there, and decides to deceive others about the hole. Sorry, there's no hole. Hole? What are you talking about? Only a secret tunnel here. At least, that's what he tells his visitors. It's certainly more than a little suspicious, but this is Secret Life after all.
Dude, I went down there and there's like an enormous hole right here.
I didn't do it.
Well, who did do it?
The tasks get even stranger when Etho was told to steal beds to make a shrine. Nobody's bothered making a bed this early on, so to get around this problem, he decides to make his fellow lifers some beds as gifts, with the intention of stealing them back later, of course. This does have the side effect of transforming Etho into a sheep rancher, though. Double life, anyone? All the beds he collected throughout the session are presented neatly on an andesite shrine just outside his home. Cleo almost figures out his task, but she doesn't really care enough to ask, so Pete gets away with it. With this kind of planning, Etho should probably consider writing a heist film.
You're trying to get everyone to sleep?
Sleep at night, together.
It's not a task, is it?
No. No, I just do weird things like this all the time. I'm quirky.
Alright, okay. Alright.
On to something more socially weird, B-dubs, Etho, and Martin get to make fun of social media. While they're exploring caves and taking a lot of damage, Martin tries to lighten the mood by getting the others to participate in an impromptu TikTok. This goes sideways when B-dubs' mic gets cut off.
Have you ever heard of a TikTok, Etho? That's what we're gunning for here.
A what? A TikTok?
Yeah,
like a clock?
Yeah.
Yeah, but spelled with a K, so it's cool.
Yeah. Now famous YouTubers, Martin InTheLittleWood and BWO.
Speaking of things that make it harder to watch TikTok, here's the ad of the week. Joel Smallishbeans promoting the Life series merch at the worst possible time. He's very good at this, causing a boom in sales.
Explosive appetite.
I'm behind you! Ah! Make sure you go on the merch, Mumbo! Make sure you buy the merch! Ah! Taking damage. Just make sure you buy it. Link in the description, isn't there?
Or maybe that was just a creeper. His other advertising targets were Scar, Cleo, and Gem in the Sky.
Make sure you check the description, guys.
And finally, Skizz gets a pretty awkward task. He's instructed to stay within 10 blocks of GeminiTay for 10 whole minutes. His strategy starts with him gifting Gem a heart as a welcome, but then it just becomes weird as he hangs around.
We're all in agreement that was weird for Skizz, right? Like, Skizz acts weird sometimes, but like, that was extra. Like, that was definitely a challenge of some sort, right?
After getting his quest rewards, Skizz makes his way back to the Cherry Grove to apologize to Gem, and to tell her that she really doesn't stay still.
I knew something was up. I called it.
Yeah, you did. And not to mention, this is how Gem, like, when she's in a creative space, this is her behavior.
Oh, she's either one.
So, I was...
I am the
You are
one to get for that.
Skizz then teamed up with Tango and Cleo to make a new base.
Okay, guys, I'm living with Etho now.
I knew she was gonna bail on us.
Look at that, just like that.
Tango, bros before Cleo's.
Oh! You're gonna die, Skizz.
Love you.
She done us dirty.
Never mind about Cleo. Weird tasks, but okay.
Thanks, Serotonin. With Lizzie prevented from working on her base, she took the time to work on her relationship. Her task led her to read a poem with some rather creative rhymes to her husband.
You're a mason up my mind, with your fabulous behind. You win me a bone. I'll never leave you alone.
Why are you rhyming?
But that didn't stop her from offering her heart to other people. When Joel showed up just as Pearl's task had her asking Lizzie for a gift heart, Lizzie made a game of it, asking the two to bring her a bone as a sign of favor. Pearl won the contest and earned Lizzie's heart. No poetry required, thankfully.
Pearl went on to collect more hearts, and friends. He wanted a pet dog, and Cleo did too. So rather than fight it out, the two formed the Puppo Alliance. We anticipate that there will be more dogs than people on the server by this time next week.
Friends are great, but all those players and pups still need a place to live. For more on that, let's go to Goose with a housing update.
Thanks, Salem. A new season means new alliances, and new places. And while the Secret Keeper is truly impressive, the players have not been slacking in building their bases. So let's take a look. First to be built, Lizzie's base is an exercise in minimalism, but has all the essentials. Pink walls, a door, crafting table, furnace, chest, and plenty of airflow thanks to the open concept roof. Directly above this, Cleo constructed her own base in order to fulfill her task of building her base directly above another player's.
Cleo, what on earth are you doing?
I am doing what needs to be done. Trust me on this. The ground is not safe.
Lizzie's box also became the subject of Martin's task to copy the base of another player exactly. Having had a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad time in the caves, Martin was not only short on time, but also short on hearts. so getting his secret task done quickly became his #1 priority. His solution? Find the smallest, simplest base. Lizzie's.
Cleo, thank you, by the way. You built above Lizzie's base, stunting her growth, which meant that I could replicate her base for my secret, so you are the best.
Next on our list is the Mounders. Or the Orienteers? 3 Mounds? The Moles? Even though none of us know what their name is, at least we know where they're living. These hilltop hooligans have built their houses on top of dirt mounds. B-Dub started this trend, with his task of making his base deeply uncomfortable to use and look at, resulting in his house sitting on its roof.
B-Dubs, your house is upside down. I'm not sure if you know
theoretically.
where it's pointing.
Yes, I know it's upside
down! Just check it.
Mumbo, unaware of why B-Dubs was doing this, built his house on its side, while Pearl built her own mound and currently resides inside of it. Whether this alliance will hold true remains to be seen. At the end of the session, B-Dubs was considering leaving the group for Tango and Skizz. Even so, the Mounders may have 2 new friends, Joel, who lives on a nearby hill which he has claimed does qualify as a mound, and Martin, whose copycat house is on the next mound over. While some of the players have been living on dirt, a few others have chosen a prettier option. Impulse's sudden interest in Cherrywood saw him team up with Gem, and after the pair found Scott in the mines, they came up with the perfect name.
So is this the band? Is it Gem and the Scots?
I'm down for Gem and the Scots.
I'm in for it.
The newly formed band was quick to set up camp with a new enchanter and some cute cottages. However, their tasks still had to be done. Gem finished hers by building a diving board so her friends could take a leap of faith.
Take the leap, take the leap!
Ready? Let's hold hands. All right, 3, 2, 1. You go.
No,
Idiot. He always falls for that.
Meanwhile, Scott tested Gem's faith in him by building uncomfortably close to her base, made significantly harder by Gem trying to give him extra space.
Do you like my cottage?
Yeah, you are a stage 5 clinger as well. I've got 2 of them.
Gem and the Scots seem to be the most stable alliance so far, with any potential tensions seeming to trace back to the week's tasks. Just behind the Secret Keeper, Skizz, Tango, and Cleo spent some time trying to start Love Island. Or it might be the Heart Foundation, with Skizz and Tango's plan to get as many spare hearts as possible, complete with a giant heart for advertising purposes. Creative differences over both name and building plans, however, led to Cleo deciding that moving in with Etho was the better fit for her. That's just as well, though, seeing as Lizzie served them an eviction notice. We all, Cleo included, look forward to the burning of Casa de Cleo in the next session.
I served you an eviction notice. I thought you ought to know.
That's okay, I've just moved in with Etho.
She just moved in with me. We're all good.
Last but not least, Scar just couldn't resist his calling of becoming a scammer, a trader. He built a trading post next to the mesa, making his neighbor Jimmy briefly worry about his shack having competition.
I thought we were going to have like a shack off or something, you know what I mean? Because can't both have
I'm always
shacks.
down for a shack off.
While Scar made no deals on the first day, Etho and Jimmy were interested in his enchanted books and may come back next time to make a trade. Not a bad start as far as bases and alliances go. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Goose. We should also get to some of the major deals made this session. Most of them involve Martin trying to make up for all the hearts he lost. Most notably, he owes B-Dub's Iron Horse armor for her heart next session. But he also has deals with Mumbo and Pearl.
The other promise-based shenanigans involved Tango and Cleo, who had a bit of a disagreement over if Tango will owe Cleo a gift heart next week.
She's not getting any hearts from us, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Tango, you owe me.
No, I
gave her my heart.
And I gave you golden apples too.
Yes. Let the storyline commence.
And finally, Grian gave us some information on how you, the audience, can get involved in this series. They need more tasks!
Grian encouraged the audience to leave their task ideas in the comments. And if yours is chosen, you'll be credited in-game.
Remember that tasks are supposed to encourage players to be social and funny.
And that wraps up the first week of our Secret Life recap. Thank you for watching. We're glad to be back. Remember that Session 2 was filmed immediately after Session 1 because most of the players were at TwitchCon, so we won't be seeing any new reactions to the audience or any fun recording session Easter eggs just yet. But things should be back to normal, as much as they can be in the Life series, next week. We'll see you then!